Welcome to QwiikPod, the shipping and logistics podcast dedicated to the people inside the industry, the leaders and decision makers who take actions towards change and innovation. Hello everyone. Bonjour Arnaud.
Bonjour Robin.
Arnaud, I'm really glad to have you for our new episode of QwiikPod. And maybe as a start, it would be great, Arnaud, to get a little bit introduction for the viewers who may not know you yet.
Okay, with pleasure, Robin. So my name is Arnaud Rastoul. Today I'm the CEO of Qwiik AI, but I've been working the past 30 years in Asia Pacific, the last 25 years in the industry of transport and logistics as general manager, managing director, president, executive committee members in Hong Kong, Japan, and in Singapore. And since 4 years now, with a co-founder, Emily, we established our Qwiik AI company in Singapore.
Okay, great. And I will post in the link some more information about Qwiik.
Thank
because
you.
I know you do a lot of interesting things. But today the idea is to talk a bit more about yourself than your beautiful company. And I want to start with one first item, which is you mentioned you've been in this industry for 25 years, which is barely my age. It's already a long time. And since I met you, what really strikes me the most is your energy, this burning fire that you have every single day. After such a long time, what keeps you going?
I think, Romain, what is fantastic with this industry is the diversity of business you can go in as a service provider. So I remember when I was in Japan, the morning I have a breakfast, we were speaking about satellite movement between Guyana and I don't know, Vietnam. Then the lunch, we speak about perfume and cosmetic. To finish the day, looking at a new factory or assembly plant between Kyushu and Mexico. So what strikes me with this industry is every day I learn new things. I learn new business. And every time I think I know or understand a vertical, I meet someone new who is able to challenge me and change the paradigm or change my understanding of their supply chain. But there is an underlying truth across all those industries. It's our own challenge. We always have to be efficient, secure, to move goods from A to B. And that keeps me awake.
Great. And that's very true. There is this level of consistency in the expectation. But what would you say has changed the most over the last decade?
Ooh, that's a tough question, Romain. If I give serious thought about it, in fact, not a lot.
Okay, interesting.
You know, lately I had the chance to visit some 3PL and 4PL offices. And, you know, when I was in Japan, I love to walk around and look at the screen of my employee. And it's always the same. Outlook, Excel, PDF, you know? So when you look about it and when you think about it, especially since the last few years that I'm really touching the latest technology with Qwiik, not a lot of change. So that's part of the questioning on the industry that we may have, how we can improve. But I do believe that it's come from the difficulties of the foundation of our businesses. A lot of stakeholders, no standard, how you communicate, what is important for me versus what is important for you. So Excel is still the king there. But this is why I also decided to change and work in technology, because the latest technology powered with AI have the abilities to change this paradigm and take care of the foundation of the end-to-end workflow of information across all the stakeholders.
Okay, so considering this let's say, this very slow, complicated environment. Would you say there is still like this kind of one thing that keeps on coming to you as the one challenge that most of those companies out there looking for logistic solutions have still not been able to solve?
Oh yes, and this is why also we started to focus on this, is when you speak with logistic manager, chief supply chain officer, you ask them the simple question, how much did you spend? How much did you ship? And it's always average.
You mean the internal KPIs itself?
Internal KPI, because in fact, the whole architecture of the system, whenever it's at the MNCs or player in the industry, to find back the correlation of your spend and capacity, how many TU, how many chargeable weight you are shipping, how many truck, is it 10 truck, is it 20-ton truck? It's extremely complex. So usually, you are going to start to go through your business intelligence, extract some data from finance, extract some data from the operational software that you are using, and try to do with VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, find out the truth. So there is a lot of difficulties to have one source of truth when it comes to spend and capacity you consume as BCO or as 3PL or 4PL.
I hear you. And so if we go to the bottom of this challenge, it's a system issue. It's a data problem. Because I mean, we keep hearing that in the industry, one of the biggest problem is the data quality. It's a big concept, but I think you're touching base on something very concrete, the multiplicity of systems, the lack of communication between systems. Why would you say that the data quality is particularly poor in the logistic industry more than the others?
I think it's different layer, in fact, of causality of the quality of the data. I give you an example. Couple of months ago, we started to look at cross-border trucking invoices. We have a customers, they receive thousands of invoices every month.
Okay.
It looks normal, it's very, always nearly the same price. On those thousands of invoices, everything looks good. Then you bring AI, you digitalize them, you categorize, you enrich the information. And that's the magic. You can start to see pattern that you are not able to see otherwise. And with this pattern, as an example, we discover that some truck, we are doing 6,000 kilometers per day. So you imagine that within all those invoices, we were able, thanks to technology and good structured data, to identify close to $1 million of overbilling in a year.
Wow.
Was it intentional or not intentional? It's even blur here. So when we go back, Romain, on this notion of data quality in the industry, I think there is a lot of difficulties. You have many stakeholders.
Yes.
They don't run the same system. We don't have standard. The arrival date of a shipping line and the arrival date and time for a haulage company is not the same. So this is why, in fact, all those layers, we were putting layer of software without dealing with the full end-to-end foundation of data and what it means to reflect the physical aspect of transport and logistics. So I think today the technology should allow the players to deal with this numerous entity system absence of standard, to categorize that efficiently in order to, like I mentioned earlier, be able to see pattern, to mitigate, to deal with action before to deal with the consequences.
I see. So it's almost like the new technology available now can do unhuman things which were difficult to identify previously.
Yes, somehow, they are able to, you are able to see pattern very well.
But I think when we talk about new technology, everyone is looking at AI. Right?
Yeah.
That's nothing new anymore, but recent largest impact to everyone. Um, but the real question that we keep hearing everywhere is AI a lever that's actually available today for companies that don't really have structured data in the first place? With the speed of evolution, you being at the forefront of anything newest in AI, would you say that's actually a challenge or that's something that's changing and evolving?
For sure, it's going to be a game changer for everyone. That's my own belief. But I like to step back a little bit and look at the difficulties of the industry with all the absence of common terminology that often we discuss together when we are speaking about our past experience. Let's take it with the eye of an architect.
Okay.
Okay? You want to build this beautiful building in the center of Manhattan where you want to have all the magazine taking nice pictures of it. Where do you start? The shiny things? No, the
The foundation.
blueprint.
Oh, okay. The
And
planning.
then, after the nice blueprint, you go on foundation. That's not really sexy. No one taking beautiful pictures of the concrete and, you digging all the earth in order to have solid foundation. With data and AI, it's a bit the same. The quality of data is the foundation. So you have to look at data quality, governance, strategy, and that's not really sexy. It's invisible. It's frustrating. It takes a lot of time. So, but when you have this foundation well done, you can build the beautiful building as an architect you are dreaming of to receive international prize. So when I make this analogy, it's very much companies that are in the front end of the usage of AI are the ones that spend and invest all this time to have the foundation right. And that it compound and the speed after is exponential.
Interesting. Um, but to stay on this one and go to the next layer, what would you say is the role of the human being in this AI revolution? You mentioned indeed this strategy, this planning, but a lot of people are worried or scared about AI potentially replacing them. Do you think the human still has a role, and what would it be?
I think fully, when it comes to decision making and leadership, at the end of the day, when you have to choose two paths, whatever the data is telling you, that's very human.
Mm.
Where you want to say and decide with your team a vision to be accountable for the outcome, that's human. It's a human decision. But where I see, and especially in this industry, where I see a great benefit, Romain, is time.
Mm.
When you are a leader and you start to implement AI, you give a lot of free time to think to your team instead of doing repetitive tasks that do not create a lot of value. So I want to turn around a bit the table. It's like, do you want to keep continuing having your team doing non-value, non-creation of value tasks? Or do you want to start to use AI and the latest technology to have more time to think on real problem, real solution, real value for your company? That's your choice.
Interesting. So going from a threat to an opportunity for a better work environment and life overall.
Yeah, for sure.
I like
Just
the optimism.
think about it. A pinch of salt. I'm a bit older, much older. But when we started to see the dot-com, early 90s, everyone was against laughing of Jack Bezos in his cubicle.
Mm.
In 25 years, it changed completely the commerce, the trade, selling
Correct.
goods. So either you jump in or you are left behind. So I think for that, we should not be afraid of new technology. We should try them at early stage to see where they are good and where they are not good.
Good. If I, okay, to follow up on this one, uh, I think maybe it would be great to have your opinion about what is the first very concrete step that any of the leader out there working in this industry could take to approach this revolution, which is already there and
Mm.
ongoing. We know that slowness and status quo is almost everywhere if you look in supply chain,
Yeah.
because it's not easy. People think that changing is a risk. They know what
Mm.
they have, they don't know what they will get. But well, if we can just try to come back to something very simple to from your experience, again, you've seen a lot of transformation, you've seen a lot of success. What would be a first logical step to take towards this positive change?
I will reply to you based on my experience of failure.
Okay.
Okay. Don't wait to have this super duper plan to transform the whole company.
Mm.
It will take years, the alignment of different business unit position, never go. But we all know that in every businesses, you have one or two process that you know are not doing well. This invoice that take years or months to validate, the rate card that no one have been updating for a couple of months. So I think you choose something small that you can have a quick win that gives the energy to embrace this change and new technology. So my advice is within all the processes that you have, take one that is not working. Try to ideate what you would like this process to be with technology. Use AI, make a quick win, and you onboard everyone.
I hear you. And I think if I can share maybe some of my personal experience, I would say I really agree with what you said with this also idea of don't try to be perfect on day one, because nothing is
Yeah,
perfect. And until you try to change, you can never succeed.
exactly.
And I've seen a lot of people saying, wait, before we even make that first step, I want to be 100% sure. And it never happens. You
No,
need to convince too many people. So it takes a bit of uh, some kind of bravery. But I think I agree where the leaders have a role to play, starting with themselves to give this impulse.
definitely. And whatever the size of the company. Roman.
And Arnaud, I really want to ask you a question which I ask myself very often, and I really don't have the answer. So I hope you can help me on this one. How do you imagine the industry? Not in 20 years, like we were trying to imagine before, not in
Mm.
10 years, but more in 3 to 5 years, I think is probably a more realistic, big
Okay,
impact already. What would be your idea of what this industry will be in that time frame?
that's a great question, Roman, that I ask myself every day. Since now 2 years, we moved to AI first, meaning that as co-founder and founder, the first things we do is we switch on model when we get to the office. So I've been spending the last 2 years on the 10 to 12 hours per day on those models. Every time I'm thinking about where on the direction, the reality is, and for me, I have no clue. And
Okay.
I'm going to tell you why. What I'm doing today, 6 months ago, I thought it will be science fiction. So the only things that I know at this stage is the velocity of development of the power of AI. It's very difficult versus the technology improvement, the change acceptance of human,
Mm.
and where as an industry you go. So that's why I have a lot of difficulties to foresee where we are going, but I'm convinced that trying as earlier adopter, you have the compound benefit of this technology. And with time, the early adopter, it's exponential. So if you wait and don't want to try, your competitive advantage is going to disappear and you will not be able to catch up with the people who tried first.
If I can maybe try to make a side thought, uh, I really feel like what you're saying gives a lot of credibility, or let's say, should give some appetite to this industry, to the startup ecosystem when you think about it, because the nature of a shipping line, a freight forwarder, is not to do, as you rightly mentioned, 10, 12 hours a day in AI. There is a cost to it first, so you need to invest your time, your energy, and your money. There is a know-how, there is a specific kind of dedication, which in nature cannot really be achieved by the industry itself. So it makes me reflect on how important the close relationship and the support that this startup ecosystem can bring to the industry. And personally, I think the most important aspect of this will be how the industry will be able to accept, to listen, to support, and to give space to this ecosystem of tech startups.
You are fully right. I think it's a great opportunity for the ecosystem to work between large corporation and players and startup. As a startup, and I see it today, my duty is to try to build not today or yesterday tools, but tomorrow tools. Meaning I need to iterate with the latest technology to fail at my small scale in order to identify what works well and can be deployed on a larger scale. So therefore, there is a lot of benefit on the ecosystem between corporate in the transport and logistics as a whole and the startup ecosystem.
Thank you for that. I think if we can conclude with one note, I like to always ask a question in this idea of bringing your advice, your expertise. Would you have a final advice for the managers, the leaders out there in the industry, after they listen maybe to this conversation, for them to reflect and think of what they should do next?
I think they should try. No, when I look at and especially after COVID, I think the sequence of events that will the black swan, the shock, the non-linear event on the supply chain. I think what is very important is you have to cultivate the curiosity of your team.
Of your team or of yourself?
Yourself and your team, and always demand excellence on whatever you do for yourself first and then your team. And I think to embrace change, and when you are very curious and you move to excellence, it's very easy to embrace any change. But let's face it, change have to be your daily priority. You have to accept it, you have to embrace it. And the technology is there to support you on those changes. So that would be my advice: curiosity, excellence, and acceptation of change.
I think it's a perfect loop to what you were saying earlier, which in order to have that curiosity, you need a little bit of time. And in this industry, we know one of the curses: I'm too busy to reflect and think. I have to do operational, but it is crucial to actually use those technology to have the time to think and use the technology better.
Fully right.
A positive circle. All right, fantastic. Thank you so much, Arnaud,
Superb.
for your time today. And
It was a great pleasure.
hope everyone enjoyed the discussion. See you next time.